Hey level 1, this is the optional step. This is step number 5, and as you can see, I'm going to be showing you all just the basics of how you would add value on this piece by hatching. So we're going to start with an area that is below our horizon line. It is an area where maybe you would stand if it was raining, that sort of thing. It's going to look really similar in nature to this section with value. So one thing that I will say about this section, it is a lower part of your piece, so you're going to have a little bit of a heavier value than if you had an area that was more of an open spot like this. So what you do initially is you will start with darker value at the top because you have this little overhang area, so you're going to have a cast shadow that's going to come down from there. So we're going to start with just up and down lines, and what I am trying to do with my pencil at the moment is lightly make my lines. I'm lightly and I'm evenly trying to make my lines go up and down, and I'm kind of going back and forth with these lines, and the darker lines are going to go, like I said, at the very top, and then they're going to fade as I go to the bottom. They're basically about the same flatness, I would say, at this point. It's just kind of a flat shade of gray right now. So after you add your basically flat shade of gray, you can go back and just start to build your lines at the top just a little bit more. And I'm really trying to control this by not pressing down too heavily. And then you fade out your pressure. Your pressure on your pencil is not going to be as great as you go towards the bottom. At this point, what you need to do is compare this side to this side and see if they're similar in nature with value, and also with just the change of the structure in your value, where it gets lighter. Does it get lighter in the same spot? That sort of thing. Okay, so we're done with this little section. So we're going to move on to a box. This is still below your horizon line, but it's closer to the horizon line, and it's also a really closed space. As to this was more of an open space, although it had a bunch of cast shadow on it. So this one, you're assuming obviously there's an opening here, but way back in the back there's also another opening back here. Just like the ones that you see here that's below your horizon line, and then you also see some here, you're going to have the wall of this structure be darker than your actual floor on here. So you're going to do something really similar to what you did right here. It's going to get darker at the very top, and then it's going to fade as you transition on into your floor. So with this, just make sure your actual drawing is really clear. You may have to go back, and I try to almost outline very lightly with a little bit thicker line, my outside line, so I can kind of stay in the line. So I'm going to go up and down at this point, and I'm just doing a nice even mid-range value just by making my hatching lines. Okay, and so after this, I'm going to go into it and start to build those lines a little bit. I'm still keeping my pencil, hopefully not picking that up as I move across the page. And the value at the top is slightly darker than what you will see as it trickles on into the bottom portion of this wall. So at this stage, what I do want to do is compare this to what might be across from it, that sort of thing, what might be over here, just to make sure that my value is consistent throughout. If it is not, I could add some more, or I could take my eraser and fade some things out if I like to do something like that. Okay, so where this transitions, you're going to make horizontal lines here. So just real lightly, because you can see this floor on these other parts is extremely light. I'm barely touching this as I'm going. And once I have that flat base tone right there, then as this casts a little bit of a shadow over here, I'm going to start to just pull just a little bit of that tone, a lighter version obviously of what you would see on that wall that intersects it, but you need a little bit of a difference that's cast right there, just because the shadow is so great right there. All right, now if you wanted to go in a different direction, if you are in this position going towards your vanishing point, what you would need to do, if you're not going horizontally this time, you need to take your value, if you're going more, this is not vertical, but if you're going diagonal, you need to make sure that it lines up with the direction of your vanishing point. So it will look like it's in perspective as you work with your value. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The next one we're going to do is we're going to add value above your horizon line. Now, above the horizon line, if you look, there's a little bit of a ceiling right here, and it's a lighter ceiling, and then there's one also right here. So you're going to have your wall that is going to be darker than your ceiling. So I'm going to start down here, and I'm just taking it and I'm outlining it just a little bit before I get started. And my darkest value is actually going to be towards the floor of my piece, and then I'm going to pull up my value. And you may not can tell that much of a difference because this is such a small area that I'm value shading, but I am making it a little bit darker on the base of this than I am as you come up towards the ceiling. So the ceiling of this thing is going to be a very light medium range right there. It may be a little bit darker as you transition over here. If you need to go back and lighten some things, I usually just touch it with my eraser. I'm not going to go like that. I'm going to just kind of touch it there, and it does pull some of the light off. One thing I would encourage you to do is don't think of your eraser solely as a device to erase. You're going to look at it almost as an instrument that you use, a medium that you would use just like your pencil. So as you can see, I've got a high contrast really between the front of my building to the floor to the ceiling. So there's definitely 3 different tones that are happening here. This is a great thing to add if you want to add just your own signature, your own personality, your own emotion to each piece that you do. Thank you so much for viewing, and happy drawing. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.